Hey, Dan.
How are you? I'm unmuted now.
You're unmuted. Happy November. We've made it.
We made it to November.
Somehow.
Welcome to the Ahab Breakdown, everyone. I'm Dan Zitt, Senior Vice President of Content Production and co-creator of Ahab, and
I'm Julie Wilson, and I'm our Senior Manager of Digital Production Platforms, as well as another co-creator of Ahab. So welcome, everybody. As you guys all know, this is recorded live and will be available on YouTube on Monday. So if any of your friends, family, colleagues, etc. missed it, they can watch the recorded episode later. You guys should all follow us across all social medias, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. We're going to have lots of Clubhouse events coming up. So follow Ahab Talent across all of those. And of course, especially on Instagram, if you guys take any studio selfies, if you're recording anything interesting, hashtag studio selfie and tag Ahab Talent, and we will repost and share and keep in touch about what you guys are all working on.
So Jules, do you know what
Yes.
we're going to talk about today?
Yes.
I'm excited. We are going to talk about something that I know you're very passionate about as someone who I call it social media maven. We're going to be talking about crafting your online presence, which I think is a really important topic because so much of what we do is behind a microphone where you don't actually see anybody, usually unless there's some video of you recording. Make sure while you're watching this that you're asking questions in the Q&A area of Zoom and upvote questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. At the end of our show, we will also have VO Roulette, which is our favorite segment on the show. We'll bring someone onto our virtual stage and you'll get to talk about what you're working on and maybe ask our panelists a few questions. If you're interested in being featured on VO Roulette, just type in the private chat to the panelists now. If you're picked, there's nothing you need to do. Alexis will be able to invite you up, and all you'll have to do is turn on your camera and sound.
So let's go into some content that we shipped this month that we're very excited about. I have been listening to The School of Greatness by Lewis Howes, which is one of my favorite podcasts. I've been listening to Lewis Howes for a long time. I don't know about all of you guys, but I tend to go in and out of podcasts. I'll take a break, I'll come back, depends on my mood. I want something funny, I want something that's like inspirational. And something I love about Lewis is that he is both like aspirational and inspirational, but he provides a lot of quality, actionable content. So whether that's about finances, relationships, entrepreneurship. I know it's nonfiction. We're often talking about fiction and actors performing on this, but I think it's something that's really inspiring, especially as we're all about to go into hibernation for the next 3 months. I think it helps you stay connected and also thinking about what your goals are for the next few months, the next year. And so I really, really appreciate his content. What about you, Dan?
Well, I know you're going into hibernation, but this is my favorite season. Once it gets cold and Zitt comes out of the house.
Oh my God, you'll never see me again.
My content that ships is Interior Chinatown, which is an audiobook that someone at the office suggested to me. It's one of our Penguin Random House audiobooks. And I took it on vacation with me, and it's 4 hours long, which is way shorter than the last content I mentioned last episode. And it's a funny, heartfelt immigrant story about assimilation. And it is all this kind of interior monologue from the point of view of, well, I'll tell you who the actor is. His name is Joel De La Fuente. And I had never heard Joel's work before until I picked up this audiobook, and I couldn't stop listening to it. You know, it's just, Joel does such a good job with the humor and just kind of, you know, with all of the characters that come in and out of this book. It is really like candy. It's 4 hours. It's a serious yet funny book. And I know that we're always struggling to find a way to fit all the content we want into our day, into our weeks. But like, I would say this to anyone who's watching this: if you get a chance, you have to download Interior Chinatown. It's one of the most enjoyable listening experiences I've ever had as an audiobook producer and as an audiobook listener. And I didn't produce this, so whoever did an excellent job.
Great. Well, I know we used to do our own sample reviews, but one of my favorite new parts about this season is that we have other producers giving their own sample reviews. So this month we have Scott Crosswell, who's both he's a musician, he's a producer, he's an audiobook producer, he casts for video games. He is a renaissance man. He's always working on something
He's
creative.
he's also one of the best sound designers out there, and he did all the
Yeah,
sound design on your book, the Seth Rogen book, which Julie and I co-produced. And he just blew us away with his creativity. He's
yeah.
the man. You're right. He's a true Renaissance man.
Dan has trusted him with recording with Barack Obama and other presidents. And so Alexis, whenever you're ready, let's pull up his sample and his video, and let's see what Scott has to say. There he is.
Hi guys. For my review, I have selected Tara Langella's video game voice reel from her Ahab profile. I was recently working on a video game and I came across her reel and I thought it was great. It had lots of good examples of what her voice sounds like, a professional studio recording of her voice, and wasn't drowned in explosions and sound effects, which I love, but don't necessarily serve the purpose in a demo. It also had lots of great examples of her acting choices, and I was easily able to imagine what she might do with the part that I was casting. And long story short, she auditioned and she got the part, and it was great. In terms of how she might improve her existing reel, I imagine she might add some more diverse elements to it to give people like me a broader sense of her abilities. But it's certainly not broken, so you should check it out, especially if you're putting together a reel or modifying an existing reel.
Cool. Let's give it a listen.
People of Tyron, tomorrow you will begin to know fear. In a week, you'll have to choose who among you gets to eat.
How did I become so powerful? Is that what you want to know? Well, I never look back. Ever.
Hold on a second. I think I hear something. Hey, who's there? No. No.
I heard you might be dangerous.
Let's see if the rumors are true.
You're surprised I know who you are. Don't be. And I can see in your eyes that you don't trust me. In fact, you're afraid of me. Good. You should be.
You don't know how long I've hoped to hear those words. If there is an afterlife, I hope she's burning in it. Enough, Mr. Cutter. That's enough. Objection sustained. Welcome to Telvanos, where we create our own reality. Believe in yourself, and you will succeed. Maybe. Listen, Limp Dick. We just dug around in the dirt for you. That's not exactly our style.
Picked up a satellite transmission floating around out there. Pieces of Kennedy's moon speech. It stopped me dead in my tracks.
Oh, that's one of your clever human sayings, isn't it?
Wow.
Wow.
What range. I could see why Scott selected her. Just going from complete fear to tears in like mere moments. I mean, just an absolutely fantastic reel as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's certainly not in the genre I cast for, but if I listened to that, I would certainly be thinking about her for a role.
Yeah, I think what's so interesting about video game and animation reels is that the emotion is so much bigger than in audiobooks. And that's what's so cool. The intensity of it draws me in too, because you're there for the dialogue. And she's going from what sounded like a kid's audiobook to something terribly horrific. So I think that really does show a lot of range there. It also makes me wonder what these parts are for. So
it was a lot of dialogue. And if you just tied a narrative around that, you would say, oh, this is a fantastic audiobook.
What's going on here? People getting murdered, sci-fi, aliens. You don't even know. Very cool. Well, let's get over to our guests. Let's pull our two guests onto the screen. I have the pleasure of introducing Rachael Naylor, and Rachael Naylor, Dan and I unfortunately missed each other at VoiceOver at VO Atlanta to a year and a half ago. We were all supposed to be there hosting, and it was of course canceled because of the pandemic, but we were able to connect afterwards and start collaborating and sharing each other's talent pool since then. So Rachael Naylor has been a voiceover artist for over 20 years and has voiced thousands of commercials, video games, documentaries, and corporate videos. Her video game credits include Alariel, I hope that's right, the Ever Queen in Total War Warhammer 2, Pharaoh in Mutant Year Zero, as well as Gemma in Wolfenstein Young Blood. Recent clients include Starbucks, Disney, Virgin Media, the Travel Channel, and BMW. Rachael is a multi-award-winning entrepreneur, as in addition to being an actor, high achiever, editor of the Buzz magazine, and founder and director of the VoiceOver Network, which is how we know her best. So Rachael, turn on your camera. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you here. Hello.
Rachael,
hello.
welcome.
Yay, thank you. Thank you for that amazing introduction. And it is such an honor to be here.
Thank you for being here. We're excited to talk to you about both sides of what we just talked about, being an actor on social media, being the head of the VoiceOver Network on social media. There's so much to dive into with you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, lots to talk about. I'm looking forward to kind of getting stuck in.
All right.
Wonderful.
Well, I am going to introduce our second guest, who is Cassandra Lee Morris. I know Cassandra's work really well, only because I've heard her work over the years in many, many audiobooks, but let me give you her full bio because it is really, really impressive. Cassandra's created over 200 characters for video games, anime, and animation, and narrated over 300 audiobooks during her nearly 25 years in voiceover. Notable video games include League of Legends and Fortnite. Anime roles include My Hero Academia, Yu-Gi-Oh, which I can never pronounce. Jules, you probably know. Yu-Gi-Oh,
yeah.
And countless more. Her favorite animated role was Kaizuki in Hasbro's show Hanazuki Full of Treasures, and Bubbles in the Popples reboot, which both aired on Discovery Family. Popples, I can't even believe that came back.
I loved Popples back in the day. They were so good.
She's also done a ton of commercial and promo work, audiobook wise. And, if you look her up, she's really well known and loves to narrate middle grade and young adult books. And she's been honored with numerous awards for her narration, an Odyssey honor in 2020 and 2015, an Audie nomination for Best Female Narrator, middle grade, young adult, children's, and literary fiction. So Cassandra, turn on your camera and say hello. It's an honor to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. And thank you for that lovely introduction.
It's so good to see in someone's bio. Julie knows how I preach all the time about the Odyssey Award. The Odyssey Award, I think, is the most important award in audiobooks. So it really is an honor to have an Odyssey winner on here.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah, that's, I know that getting recognized by the ALA is just like the best. So, and I love what I do. So to have like the librarians recognize it, it's like really cool. Yeah.
Welcome. Jules, you want to get us started?
Yeah. So today, obviously, we're talking about crafting your online presence. So just to kick us off, how did you guys initially become invested in growing your online presence? I'm sure it was an interesting road for both of you in that whole evolution. Cassandra, I know that you have grown your followers to such a huge number, and the variety of content you put out there is amazing. And Rachael, your global network of actors that you help encourage and help their careers thrive, they're so different, and yet they're so impressive to me. So I would love to hear where it all began.
Yeah. So I was an early adopter of Twitter. I think I started like in maybe even 2009 on Twitter. And I just started for fun. And then as soon as Instagram was a thing, I, started doing that just to share, my life. And as I started booking roles that were, more, I guess, identifiable, people started finding me. and they would be like, hey, are you this person? And I'd be like, yeah, I am that person. Like, cool. Like, thanks for finding me. And then that happened more and more. And then I realized that social media was a great way to connect with people who are watching and listening to my work. Because, you know, as voiceover people, it's a very insular job. Like, this is where I work. There's nobody around me. There's no audience. So initially it was just a cool way to get feedback on my work and connect with people. And audiobook wise, it was a great way to connect with authors. So that's how I started. It was just all about connecting with people and being like, wow, somebody cares about what I'm doing. And then, you know, as social media grew more and more, I kind of realized it was a tool to use to promote my work. It was a tool to like promote audiobooks and anime and video games and all these things. And then I realized that people started wanting to cast people that have a social media following. So of course I was then just, you know, kind of switched the focus less to like, yo guys, this is what I had for lunch today. Like, this is what I did on my vacation, to, hey, I have this cool stuff coming out. Like, I'm doing this. And I slowly kind of focused it more voiceover, but I still do post about, you know, my life too, because I just enjoy sharing that with people. So.
It's an interesting crossover right there. I feel like we get the question all the time, and we can get into this later, about whether or not you should have a professional and a personal account. But it's interesting where those two meet in the middle. And I always think you do a really nice job about, you know, I know you're aware of everything you post, but like showing a bit of yourself while also being professional about it.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's important too, because, you know, I like to be authentic, just, you know, that's something that's really important to me as a person. So I don't want my social media to not reflect who I am, who I really am. So, you know, of course I don't overshare, but you know, I do like to share some personal things as well. So, but yeah, you know, I'm always aware. I don't want to cross like a weird line. But yeah.
Totally. Rachel, how about you?
So yeah, so my kind of online social media journey, I mean, it's interesting because I came into the industry like just over 20 years ago. So before there was even social media. And so, yeah, so I've seen how the industry has changed and how social media has had such a massive impact on the voiceover industry. And I got into social media really early days. Similar. I think for me, I'm fascinated by people, and I love connecting with people. And I think social media has given us that ability to connect, to share, to communicate with lots of different people around the world. And so that was really appealing to me straight away. And I remember early days of social media, and I think, yeah, Twitter was one of the kind of the early things, obviously Facebook, and then Twitter. And I remember seeing, you know, there was lots happening in the States. So I'm here in London, I'm based in London. And I remember seeing, wow, there seems to be a lot going on in the voiceover industry in America in terms of training. And there were some events, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, why don't we have anything going on here in the UK? And so from that, I then, you know, seeds were planted, and, you know, and then I started to, you know, said, right, well, let's do some stuff in the UK. Let's do some stuff in London. And that was kind of where the VoiceOver Network sort of started. So yeah, it is, for me, you know, it's important. It's an amazing tool that we have. And I often say to people, you know, who are coming into the industry, or, you know, who've only been in the industry for a couple of years, you know, you're so lucky, because social media gives us the opportunity to connect with clients, to connect with potential clients, producers, casting directors, agents, but also other voiceover talent. Because that's, you know, we can get a lot of work from referrals, from networking, from VoiceOver Us. I mean, I'm constantly, you know, in the studio, you know, in a session, and a producer will say to me, oh, you know, do you know anyone who's this accent or this age? And through, you know, connecting with people on social media and networks, and that's how you're able to refer people. So I think social media is fantastic, because you connect with people, but also you get to find out what's going on. So you stay, you know, you have a finger on the pulse, you can see what's happening, you can see events, things like that. I think it's just we're so lucky to have it as a tool. And I, similar to Cassandra, I think it's really important to be authentic, and to share, who you are, and a bit about who you are. And it is a tricky, it is a balance, and juggling kind of, being professional and personal, and and also sharing the fact that sometimes it's okay not to be okay, and I think that for me has been a really interesting journey, and I can go on to that if in a bit if you want. But in terms of sharing that, actually, yes, I got to the point where I was sharing lots of pictures of me, having fun at a party, everything's great, and realizing actually, that isn't real. And I think that I really like that about social media now, that people are sharing not always the great stuff. We can share when we're, when things are bad, and people, I talk about mental health on social media, and and I think that's really important as well, that we all share stuff, because that's how we connect with people as well. So being authentic.
I always love that. I always do a gut check before I post anything, to be like, why am I doing this? Like, what's the reason for putting this on?
Yeah.
And like, I've had moments where I'm like, I feel icky about this, and then I won't do it. Because for wherever that ick is coming from, it's not from a positive place. But you just said so many wonderful things, from just using it as a connector of people. I always love that a lot of my, like, not a lot, but like some of my friendships have come from social media, whether they're people, influencers, connections that I've met online that were like, whoa, we have this weird bond over this random hobby, or et cetera, to forming it into an offline thing. And that can be applied to your personal life or your professional life. So, I think social media gets a bad rap, and I always think it's only gets a bad rap if you use it in the wrong ways, or in ways that are like malicious to yourself. Anyway, I'm very excited to dive in.
Definitely. And just on that, I'm so incredibly grateful. I've met so many voiceover artists, American voiceover artists, at lots of different voiceover conferences, VO Atlanta, all those kinds of things. And I've been able to stay in contact, and I feel, I've got really, really close friends all over America, particularly Los Angeles. And we're able to stay up to date with each other through social media. And I really feel like I know what's going on in their lives. And I think that's really special.
That's one of the main reasons why I tell actors I like connecting via social media. I'm not a big newsletter fan. I'm not a big fan of people sending us newsletters, but I like seeing what they're up to. I love that when actors post about what they're doing in the studio, what they're listening to, et cetera, et cetera. So Dan, over to you.
Cassandra, just a question, like, obviously you were an early adopter, but when did you realize that social media was going to be an important part of growing your career? Was there like a turning point where you were like, oh, this really kind of matters, and I have to focus like a percentage of my time on this because it's going to help kind of cultivate my career?
Yeah, I would say maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I had heard somebody, I was waiting to go into record in the waiting room, and people were like, you're nobody unless you have 50,000 followers. Like, they won't even look at you. And I was like, what? And this wasn't like an audiobook thing. It was more, I think they were talking about like on camera actors, but voiceover trends tend to follow on camera stuff. So when they said that, I was like, oh, wow, like casting is looking at your social media. And then recently, there have been some video game castings coming through saying, we want actors with social media followings to help us promote this game. And, it's just kind of where things are headed. And I know authors really appreciate when you like retweet or interact with them, because it, helps them get more visibility. And I think, probably authors too are looking at, oh, I like her voice, but does she have an online presence? Like, can she help me sell my book? So a couple of years ago, that was the inkling. And then this past year or two, I've definitely heard like they want people with social media followings. So, yeah.
Well, and that's an interesting part of it too, because the cross section, then we have authenticity, we have your professional life, and then we have the selling part of it, right? And how can this be used as promotion? So it's there's a lot going on under the surface of a very one-dimensional platform, which is very interesting.
Well, and also balancing all those things, because honestly, you don't want to appear to be pitching and selling all the time too. You know, I mean, I think there is a lot of balance there, and understanding that balance is really important.
Yeah. So what is the rule? I think it's like an 80-20 rule, 80% not selling, 20% selling, or, you know, you never want to just sell, because nobody's going to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
And also it's important to share a bit of who you are, like your life, because I think people want to work with people they know, like, and trust. And knowing a little bit about your life as well, sharing a bit of your life. It doesn't have to be, everything, and it does, but it helps to kind of be able to share some hobbies. And I think in terms of branding as well, I often say to people, when they're looking at their branding, and say, talk about things that you're interested in, because you will connect with other people who are interested in those things too. So if you're a voiceover artist and you love surfing, talk about surfing on social media, because you will attract other people who, casting directors, agents, producers, other voiceover artists who like surfing, and you will attract them to your social media as well. So
and Rachel, we are the symbol of that. Julie and I talk about our Ahab profiles all the time, actors Ahab profiles, and putting information about yourself that you might not think is important. Like if you're a knitter, like put that on there, because if I'm doing a book about knitting, like I might do a keyword search for knitting and find you, and you become a candidate just from that, But yeah, for sure, I think hobbies are super important to put on your profile and get out there in the world.
Definitely. Rachel, you've mentioned briefly how the VoiceOver Network began, but I'd love to dive a little bit more deeply into that, because I know that your origin was also being an actor, and I know it wasn't 1 to 500 miles per hour with the VoiceOver Network. I'm sure it took some time. So can you tell us a little bit about more how that happened, how and if social media and growing this network online, how that all worked?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an actor, and I got into voiceovers 20 years ago. But as an actor, I never did business studies or any of that kind of thing. I was always dancing and singing down the halls at college, and looking in at people who did business studies and thinking, oh no, that's not for me. And so I got into voiceovers, and I didn't just land in voiceovers, and it wasn't easy for me. So just to let you guys know, I struggled to get in. It was really, really tough. I got rejected time and time again. It took me years to get my first agent. Even when I booked the role of being on the voice of Virgin Media here in the UK, and even after I booked that, I still was struggling to get an agent. So those of you that are out there, please know that keep going is what I want to say to you. So I then started getting traction, and I ended up getting an agent and booking lots of work, and it was fantastic. And I went through this kind of feast and famine thing, where really, really everything was great, and then it would go really quiet. And so I tried to figure out, I was like, what is it? And I realized that it was the business side of being a voiceover artist that I didn't understand. So I kind of threw myself into learning about business, learning about marketing. And I realized that actually marketing is really fun. And as creatives, and we're communicators, as voiceover artists, we're communicators. So actually marketing, is brilliant. So I learned a lot about that. And then what happened was I went for a drink with 3 other voiceover artists in West London, a place called Richmond. And I was like, wow, this is really useful. We should do this more often. And, we talked about studios, we talked about agents, and this was back in 2013. And so I started this little monthly meetup group, and it was called the West London Voiceover Artists Meetup Group, which is a rubbish name, I know. I don't even know what the actor.
You've rebranded since then.
Yes. And it was just let's, we're going down to the pub, who wants to come, voiceover artist, let's go. And it just snowballed. And then people from other parts of London started saying, oh, I'm in North London, can I come? Do I have to live in West? And I was like, yeah, anyone can come. We're just going to the pub. So then I moved it to Central London, and I came to my senses and changed the name, and it became the VoiceOver Network. But it was just for a while. It was just a kind of meet up. Let's go. We'll meet up and talk. And then it developed, and I started getting speakers. And towards the end of 2014 2014 in the voiceover industry was a crazy year. Suddenly the industry blew up. It was like, technology meant we could have home studios. The pay-to-play sites were on the scene, and we kind of started finding out that they were misbehaving. Suddenly there were lots of people coming into the industry, lots of people in the industry getting quite cross, and I saw this kind of mess going on. And I thought I could carry on bumbling along doing what I'm doing, or I could put my head above the parapet and try and create a safe place for voiceover professionals to come together to get help, support, advice, and training and feel supported. And so that's what I did. So I launched the VoiceOver Network beginning of 2015 as a membership organization in order to help support and strengthen the voiceover industry. And it's been amazing. And we now have members based all around the world, and it is fantastic. And social media has been a huge part of the journey of the VoiceOver Network. And that's how I've communicated what we've done. I've posted about what we've done. I mean, I was in charge of social media, and I love doing the social media. And it's been actually really difficult to drag me away. I still find myself kind of going back onto the social media, going, I just want to post some stuff. And I'm like, no, I do have a team who do it. And I'm like, but I find it fascinating. And I think for me, as I said before, I love people. I'm fascinated by human beings, by and I like finding out what other people are doing, and I love connecting, and so that's kind of really a big part of how we've got to where we've got to.
I think it's really important what you said about creating a safe space, because I do think, I do look over a lot of social media networks of actors and audio professionals. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's also just a lot of predatory behavior with companies and everything. And I think it's really important for actors to talk to each other about what's happening out there in the audiobook industry, who's on the up and up, who's not on the up and up, because, I've seen a lot of actors over the years be taken advantage of. So I think these networks really do have a place in our community. Shifting gears a little bit, we did get a question from Andrew Perella, which I think is part one of a question I want to ask you, Cassandra. But first question is, and you don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but what is the most valuable social media platform to build a presence in to you? And then, just kind of what are your kind of do's and don'ts? I know our publicist is always like, let's keep it positive, but I always think don'ts are really important, because there's a lot of people that step over the line. So tell us about the platform you think is most valuable, and then some of your do's and don'ts.
Personally, for me, the most valuable platform has been Twitter, because there's just a huge gamer audience on Twitter. There's a lot of authors on Twitter, and I feel most comfortable on Twitter. And I think it's important for everybody to just gravitate towards the social media that they're most comfortable with, because that's going to be the easiest for you to do and the most authentic. Second is TikTok. I struggle with TikTok because it's video. It just feels different to me, but it's a huge global audience. You can find an audience for anything on TikTok, and it's very easy to go viral on TikTok. So I need to pay more attention to my TikTok, but I got a lot of followers right away on there, and it's because they have a different algorithm. So that's that. And then, do's and don'ts, do keep it very positive, keep it professional, do, as Julie said, check yourself, do a gut check before you post. I would say don't post when you're super emotional. If you're having a bad day, I have in my notes app, I have tweets that I haven't sent yet, because sometimes I'm just like, is this actually funny? Or, oh, this is something I want to post later. Nobody's holding a gun to your head and saying you must post right now. So yeah, just, there's nothing wrong with like having stuff in queue and revisiting it to see if it's something that you want to post. I would say don't, one of my students asked me this the other day. They were like, I love politics. Should I like post about politics on my thing? And I'm like, maybe not, because that's like very divisive right now. And if you're trying to if you're trying to attract clients and people, you don't want to alienate anybody right now, especially if you're just starting out. I would say do stay on brand. If you're trying to brand yourself as a voiceover person, cater your tweets toward the VO world. I would say don't be obsessive in tagging people. It's fine to tag people that you like and you want to have a conversation with. Don't tag them every day, because they might be like, oh, who is this person who keeps tagging me? Don't overshare. Don't complain a lot, generally keep it positive. There's definitely a way, as Rachael was saying, to show, the not as great sides of life, because, the whole thing with social media, like you can scroll through and be like, everybody's having a great time except for me. And that can really, affect you. But where was I going with that? It's okay to show the not pretty parts of your life, but just, there has to be a line, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to be like professional people in the voiceover industry here. And I always think, like, if somebody was looking at my profile for the first time and they saw this tweet, would that be okay? So yeah, I try to approach it from that too. And yeah,
go ahead.
I feel like there's so many other things I could say. Did that kind of answer your question?
I feel like you're going to be tweeting out do's and don'ts for the rest of the night now. Like
there's so many nuances to it, but I think you also tipped to something that's important. I think a lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, I have to be on social media at every moment of the day. But what you can do is you can create a backlog of content too, as long as it doesn't have to come out right now. So you can time things out, even if it's like a Thanksgiving post or a Christmas post. You have some cool photos you haven't posted yet. You can have a Saturday where you're not doing much. You can create all of that content and just slowly drop it in. So you don't have to feel like you're going from recording in the booth to marketing yourself to talking to casting professionals to posting online. And you can also time those out. And there are other apps that you can connect to your social media that can post those for you.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. I think, Cassandra, just as a follow-up, it's a very quick question. You can just give me a percentage. Like, what percentage of your time is built in, work versus, say, social? Like, is it like 80% work, 20% social? Is it, what's the balance there? Because I do think there are some people who will spend inordinate amounts of time on social trying to build a presence and forget about all the other things they have to do to kind of like build their craft.
Yeah. I honestly don't spend that much time on it right now. I maybe spend like 10% of my time on it. Yeah. But like I mentioned, I do want to grow that TikTok. So that's that involves more time. So, but yeah, right now it's like 10%.
Over to you, Rachael. So what social media platform is your favorite, and some do's and don'ts?
Tricky to choose a favorite, but I probably would say Instagram is my favorite at the moment. I like Instagram because I feel like it's a very positive place, and I mean, there's lots going on. Facebook is great. I love Facebook groups and the VoiceOver Network. We have a wonderful Facebook group, which is very supportive and fantastic. And but yeah, I think Instagram is a positive kind of people seem to be nice on Instagram, whereas Twitter can be a bit, there's a dark side to Twitter. But so do's and don'ts. I think I want to kind of mention the fact that I think people, and I talk to a lot of people, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to post. I don't know what to say. I feel like, oh my God, my life is not interesting. And I just want to say, like, you don't have to chase the likes. Like, just be authentic and be you, and talk about what's interesting what interests you, and share things. Yeah, just share, be open, and start conversations as well, which is a really good thing to do, to try and start conversations. But also, social media is incredibly effective and valuable, not when you're posting, but when you're interacting with other people's posts. So I think it's really important to spend time building lists on Twitter. So look up building lists on Twitter, and go and make sure you're following, the casting directors that you want to work with, the producers, the agents, the authors, that, all these people. Make sure that you're following them and that you're interacting and liking and commenting on their posts. And other voiceover artists, go and like and comment on their posts, start conversations, interact in Facebook groups, answer people's questions. And I think it's really important. Social media is a networking tool, and people can get really caught up in knots when that word networking, it's like, oh my God, I have to be interesting, I have to talk about myself, I have to do an elevator pitch. And actually, it's not about you. When networking is effective, and when networking it works, is when you go and help other people, and you are of service to other people. And so I say to people, go onto social media, go into Facebook groups, go and help other people. And if you can go at it like that, if you can go at it like, okay, so when I post something, I'm not posting to sort of see, oh, okay, I want to get as many likes. I'm going to post something. And even if I get, a couple of likes, whatever, but if that post positively affects one person, if that makes one person go, wow, you know what? Yeah, I can do it. I will do it. I'm gonna, that is where it's effective, and that is where authenticity comes through. And so I think that's really important when it comes to social media, not to just kind of think, oh my gosh, I want to be an influencer, I need to get 1 million followers, I need to get loads of likes, because then it's hard, then it's tough. But if you can go at it and think, okay, I'm going to go and be of service, I'm going to help other people. You know what, I learned something really valuable today about, voiceovers, about narrating audiobooks. I'm going to share that and hopefully help somebody else. So I think that that's really effective. So that's a kind of do. It's a bit of a long-winded do. In terms of don't be nasty. Be kind. It's the industry is actually quite small. And so don't get yourself involved in nasty kind of conversations. I've seen people in Facebook groups get involved, and casting directors, agents are watching. They are watching. They're not necessarily posting, but they're watching. And I know of people who have
absolutely.
They've lost clients.
You'll be really surprised how many conversations I've had in the hallways with other producers about wow, you should log into this group because it's getting a little vulgar in there, and it's talking. It's I think it just seems like that's the world we live in. But in your professional life, Jules, we wouldn't be standing in the hallway, a bunch of producers yelling at each other about something. So don't do it on social media, right? Try to adhere to the same rules you would in person.
Absolutely. And I've seen the good and the bad of social media. I've seen the fantastic positive side of it, but I have also been on the end of some really nasty trolling. So I have seen that. I have been a victim in a Facebook group. When I started the VoiceOver Network, there was I had a backlash, and there just is never any need for that. And and don't ever get involved in slagging someone off or bad mouthing someone. It's just not necessary ever.
Your comments made me think of, people always ask me how do you grow your social media, how do you get followers? And yes, being authentic is definitely a way, but there's also tools that you can use, specifically I'll just talk about Twitter and TikTok, because that's what I kind of know right now. Always reply to people. If somebody says something nice about your work, interact with them. They will remember that forever. Yeah. And I know that because I have had people that I admire reply to me. I remember stuff that happened to me 7 years ago. I'm that person tweeted me once.
Mm.
That's like that is really meaningful to people. So always reply, always be humble, always be grateful. Follow people. I don't know why people want to have like a higher follower count than following. Like, that's stupid. Just follow who you like. Do not buy followers. Everybody can tell when you've bought followers. It's more about engagement than it is about your follower count. I have heard, algorithm wise, like in the long run, that will help you grow more. And I love commenting on stuff that is trending. Like yesterday or the day before, there was the voiceover community was up in arms about, I'll just say it, about Chris Pratt. And I just thought it was hilarious. So I made like 3 like Chris Pratt tweets, and because people were already like commenting on it, those got like 2,000 likes, like 1,000 likes. And it's because I'm like being part of a conversation that's popular right now. So always look at what's trending, and, if you can authentically like insert your voice in a positive way, that will get you, more eyeballs on your account, and that will like lead to more followers as well. And for TikTok, it's the hashtags. People love that. People love duetting. Don't be afraid to promote other people's work, because, they'll reciprocate. So yeah, those are just some ways that you can grow your following.
Yeah, you read our minds, because that was my next question. How do we grow our followers? Rachael, do you have anything to add about growing numbers of followers?
I think just being authentic, sharing useful information, and you can find like people's blogs, news articles. There's a great tool that you can use, Google Alerts, guys. So Google Alerts. It's fantastic. You should all have Google Alerts set up, if not for your name, because you should have Google Alerts so that if anybody writes anything about you, that it tells you. So Google Alerts, look it up, and it'll send you. And you could put in audiobooks, you could put in, and then Google will send you when people have written articles about that subject. So that's really that can be useful in terms of posting content that is relevant to your audience. I think interacting as well is really fantastic. Supporting other people and just being positive, and helping other people in the industry. I think that's really important. I'm trying to think what else. Gosh, what have we? I think videos are really good, and video is king, absolutely king. So if you can get your, video yourself talking about a project that you've worked on, if you can, or, a problem that you've had in your booth that you overcame, oh my gosh, I was struggling with editing this thing, or, I had problems, I don't know, it could be as stupid as my stomach wouldn't stop grumbling in a session, and this is what I did to overcome it. But people love stuff like that, and use your personality, post, just share who you are with the world. And I think that helps.
I think some of the best posts I've ever had were just like general questions about things that I had seen and said, and like posed to actors and people in the industry, like, has anyone seen this before or heard this before? And then just watched people go wild with engagement. And it's a simple way of just asking a question and having lots of people who want to talk about that same topic, as Cassandra said before, weigh in and just grow a following that way. But
definitely.
I think engaging and giving good advice. I mean, that's why we're all here even today, and why we're always tweeting out that we're having these events, because we love to give out good advice, and this is all great advice.
Definitely. I wanted to jump on. Sorry, can I just jump into?
Yeah, you do it.
Because I know we're talking about kind of politics. I know Cassandra mentioned politics, and I was talking about being vulnerable. But I did also just wanted to kind of say to people to be who you are. And and it is interesting, the whole politics thing, because it can be tricky. But be you. If politics is your thing and you want to talk about politics on social media, do it, but know that you are going to repel a certain percentage of people, and that can be okay. It depends who you are. It depends what you want to do. But if if you understand that when you post, and you understand, okay, look, if I'm going to post about, so I'm a vegan, so I do occasionally, I don't shove it in people's faces, but I do occasionally post about being a vegan, and I know that that is going to repel some people, and that's okay. I'm okay with that, because it'll attract other people. So that is an important thing. Just I want to share with you guys that it is okay to stand for things, and to be you, as long as you understand that you will repel people, but you will attract more people. It's that thing of not being kind of vanilla, not being sort of all things to all people. Actually standing for stuff, is really, really important. And
interesting. Some of the people that I actually engage with the most on social media are people that are on the opposite side of the spectrum on a topic. And it's, what we always try to say, like, we are always respectful, and always, trying to remember that there are humans on the other side of these keyboards, is really important. And I think, you're right. Even maybe it's not the first thing you want to see when somebody goes to your website, but it's certainly, I think being authentic is certainly important. And you will, I think, meet a lot more people on social media that way as well.
Well, and Rachael, I love that what you just said, it applies to real life, and it applies to online. Like, you should be you. Like, my favorite quality in people is when our keyword of the day, authentic. And so that applies offline, and that applies online. We have so many questions for you guys and a limited amount of time. I did want to touch on metrics. Do you guys track metrics? Do you use metrics to help cater to the posts that you're going to post, or time out when the best times of the day are to post? Or what do metrics mean to you, and how do you use them?
I very rarely use them. I know my percentage of audience, like age range, that where they're located, kind of who they are, and that's about it. But I do know people who have had great success, like timing their reel posting on Instagram, and they know all that, and they do really well with that. So yes, that can be very helpful to people that I've seen. Unfortunately, I have not really used that yet, but
you've grown a big following, so maybe you don't necessarily need it, or some people need it and some people don't. But yeah, I think it's a hard thing to juggle too, when you're also juggling the rest of your professional career too.
Exactly.
Then doing analytics on top of that can be a whole other job. What about you, Rachael?
So yeah, so I've never been a big kind of analytics kind of person, but I do, we have to look at, because I'm based in the UK, I have to look at kind of what works for the UK and the US audience. So posting in times, and I do notice a difference when I post, if I post in the morning or the afternoon. So, and the VoiceOver Network. So, I mean, obviously I have my Rachael Naylor social media kind of, and all that sort of stuff, but then the VoiceOver Network, and I have a team who work on the VoiceOver Network. Sorry, my puppy's just woken up. So
if you want to meet Rachel's puppy, go on.
Who wants to see an 11-week-old beagle?
I want to
Anybody?
see a puppy.
Anybody?
Yes, me.
Somebody post this on social media immediately.
There we go.
Oh my
goodness. Nemo.
Just won 60 new followers.
Cute.
And actually, he's been getting a lot of likes. He's got his own Instagram account, and he's got 110 followers already, haven't you?
Haven't you?
Yes.
So before we jump into VO Roulette, there's a question that keeps popping up, and I think Cassandra, you could probably answer it pretty quickly, or maybe you don't know the answer because I don't know if you have any pseudonyms. But there's a lot of people asking about whether or not you should have a different social media account for a different pseudonym if you're doing, say you're doing erotica and you only keep that under one pseudonym, but you also want to do children's books. Any advice in that realm? I mean, my suggestion would be to have different social media accounts for pseudonyms, but I don't know.
I would say yes. Only because, like, if it's very, very different stuff that you're doing, like you said, like you want to do children's and erotica, in that case I would say yes. A parent DM'd me the other day saying, my daughter loves your books and she's now going out and finding all of the books that you've narrated because she loves you so much. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm so glad that she can only find a certain kind of book. So I would say yes. Yeah. If you have a pseudonym, they have their own thing that they post about, and it's, you know, all erotica or whatever. Yeah, I would say it's a great idea.
Absolutely, because if you're going to click on the name in Audible, and you'll see all of your work. If you click on the pseudonym, you'll see only the books that under the pseudonym. I think I would rather keep those streams separate as well.
Totally.
Definitely. But be forewarned, if you have multiple Instagram accounts, TikTok accounts, Twitter accounts, that is doubling your job. So just be aware of, are you ready to manage the social media account, or should you keep on growing that brand and then add on to it? So just be aware of when you begin those. Yeah.
So Jules, I think it's time.
I think it is. It's time to dive into VO Roulette. We know this time, it always passes so quickly. And Alexis today has chosen Anna Caputo. So Anna, why don't you come on? We can throw some questions your way.
There we go.
There she is. Hi, Anna.
Anna.
How are you?
Good, you guys? This has been so helpful.
Oh, good.
Good. So where are you, Anna? Where are you from?
I'm from Wisconsin, but I'm in Sacramento, California.
Nice.
Very different.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your journey as an actor and or voiceover professional, and some of the things you've worked on, and why you came to watch The Breakdown.
Yeah, so I've been in this industry for about a little over a year. I'm just an avid audiobook listener. I've been listening for like a decade, literally, like pretty much everything I ever do, I have an audiobook in my ear. And I just fell in love with it. And so about a year ago, mid-pandemic, as I know a lot of people had happened, I was like, wouldn't it be so cool to see my name on Audible? Like, I can't even imagine, right? And fast forward to a year later, I've made some of the best friends of my life. I feel like I'm in like the greatest community ever. I had been sort of struggling to find my career path, and I feel like I found that. Like, I just feel like the luckiest person alive. Like, I just feel like this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. So, and I've been fortunate to already work with some producers, and so I'm just over the moon.
Oh, great. It is. I mean, Dan and I freaking love this community. It is such a supportive community of actors. Do you have any questions for our guests while we have you up here learning about social media and beyond?
Well, so I think both of the guests do things other than audiobooks, but I've wondered in audiobooks specifically, because I've consulted with some social media people, and they say you should have like another part of your brand, right, to build an audience. But is that helpful in this community? Like, if you build your, like, let's say you're like, I knit, like, let's say I used that for part of my thing. Like, is that helpful to have a knitting community and have more followers in that way? Does that make sense?
Do you mean like a knitting account? Like, will having like a knitting account help you get audiobook work?
No, like if to expand how I'm presenting myself and part of my like brand and personality, like, does it help to have followers that are pulled from other places? Does that?
I think so, yeah, because I have audiobook listeners, I have anime fans, I have gamer people, and then I have people I have no idea why they follow me. And if they are not interested in something I post, they just scroll by. But if they are, then they'll comment on it. And sometimes for example, I just did a light novel, which is like a Japanese, I just narrated a Japanese light novel. So I know that if I post about that, the anime fans are going to be like, oh, cool, I'm going to listen to this audiobook because it's kind of like a thing that I like. I would assume that people who knit, this is just me, maybe they want to listen to something while they're knitting. So they might be like, oh, cool, like, she narrates books, like maybe I'll just download this. So yes, there is some crossover. And then some people just scroll by, and that's fine too. But again, like we've been saying, authenticity is super important. So if you're like, yeah, I'm an audiobook narrator and I also knit this dope sweater, people are going to be like, oh, that's amazing. And then who knows, maybe there's a book about knitting that might come along that they'll think of you for. So
I agree. I mean, I think there's things that, you know, I have my like audiobook community on social, and then I have like all friends and family and people I've known for 20, 30 years. And occasionally I'll post a book that I worked on and the audiobook people are like, oh, cool. But then you've got a bunch of people that don't even listen to audiobooks who are like, you know what? I'm going to get that. That sounds really interesting. So yeah, I think, you know, engaging with all of your communities on social is important.
Well, so, and those two things are very complementary, as Cassandra pointed out. Like, we used to send people to knitting conferences from our team because like they love audiobooks. So those things work very well together. So for sure.
Can I
also just also, sorry, on that, just to sort of say, you know, and also you will attract people within the, you know, the industry who like knitting. So it's about you kind of drawing people who have similar interests to you. So whether it's knitting or whether it's cats, dogs, you know, climbing, surfing, snowboarding, skiing, ice cream, cooking, you know, whatever it is that you're interested in, that you're really passionate about, you know, talk about that, because also then it's easier to talk about, and it's and you're talking from the heart, and it's authentic. When you're sharing stuff, you know, it's like if you really love baking and you're sharing about baking, yes, you're going to attract people who are into baking, but you'll attract people in the industry who are into baking as well. And so that's really, really good.
Anna, did you have another question? I knew you were going to jump in.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about authenticity, which is really important to me, but then also like, let's not be negative. And I think that I have a big problem with toxic positivity. And I'm just wondering if you guys have any tips on how to kind of toe that line. Like, how can you be authentic and say it's okay to not be perfect, but also not turn people away by being too, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the people who are like, I just booked this amazing job. My life is so great. Look at me. Like, that comes off in a certain way. But there's also a way for, like, when I post about a job that I am like so excited about, I'm careful not to just be like, look how amazing my life is. It's more like, I got the opportunity to work on this amazing book, and I really loved it, and here's why, and like, here's why I think you might like it. Like, that's way different than like 5 exclamation points, hashtag blessed, hashtag best day of my life. Like, I'm not posting that. Yeah.
Can I jump in with a quick little
please.
Story about me, just to kind of share with you guys, because I do think it's an important story to tell, and it always kind of makes me a bit like to share this. But so something that happened to me 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with MS, and which, you know, it's an autoimmune disease that affects the spine and the brain, and it was horrendous and really, you know, it was a horrible diagnosis. I'm doing really well, by the way.
Okay.
But I decided to keep it secret because I thought, oh my gosh, if people know that I have MS, they're going to think I'm finished. They're going to think I'm weak. They're going to think I'm sick. So I kept it a secret. And for a year, I felt like I was sort of carrying around this big, like, heavy weight. And so, what was it, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. Or was it 3 years ago? So anyway, I decided it was 2019, I decided to come out publicly and talk about the fact that I have MS. And I put this post together, and it was terrifying. And I just posted it. And I remember I posted it on social media. I posted it on Facebook. And as soon as I posted it, it just blew up. Absolutely blew up. I had so many amazing comments, such an incredible connection with people, because I was being open. And by me being open and sharing, because before that, all my posts had been like me on the red carpet, me at a party, me having a great time, me booking another job, and it was all, and I realized that it was all just very one-sided. And then for me to come out and say, you know what, I've been diagnosed with MS, which is a horrible disease, and I'm going to share it because I don't want to keep it hidden. It actually opened up for so many people. They were able to then talk openly, and they were able to, you know, come to me and talk to me. And I mean, some people came and talked to me about some things. I was like, whoa, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. But it is important to share, and not to feel like you don't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to all be roses. And I just think that is an important story to share with everybody, and that, you know, yeah, you don't have to share warts and all, but you know, by being vulnerable, being open, you allow other people to be vulnerable and be open. And again, I talk about mental health because I suffered from depression after I got MS, and that again, that you know, that kind of people are what, but that then helps other people, and that's what we, you know, I think is important about social media, is about helping other people.
Well, that's an amazing story. And I think vulnerability is like a huge word that I also super support. Dan and I, we were just talking about the breakdown, and so much of the breakdown has been community building and connecting all of us. And on that same note, we're thinking about like what people are going through actually in this moment in time, in this moment in the pandemic. And one of those things was like, how's everyone doing? Like, let's take everyone's temperature on like, how's mental health? So we haven't mentioned this yet, but our upcoming Clubhouse series is all going to be about mental health in the audiobook and voiceover industry.
Cool.
So in 2 weeks, Dan and I are going to be talking about what you're grateful for, what you're thankful for before Thanksgiving. We're going to have a VO workshop on Clubhouse again in December. Then we're going to talk about New Year, New You. Like, what do you want out of the next 3 months? What do you want out of the next 6 months? And then in February, we're going to be talking about mental health in the booth. Like, how do you stay sane and your same-centered self when you are isolated in a home studio for years at this point? So I really appreciate you sharing that story with us, Rachael. You know, everyone here, everyone on screen and off screen is dealing with so many different things. I think adding a touch of vulnerability helps, and it makes you accessible and it makes you more authentic. So we appreciate you. Anna, thank you so much for coming on. It's great to see your face. Thank you for coming to the breakdown and asking great questions. We're going to head over to our wrap-up thoughts. So, Dan, any wrap-up thoughts for us?
You know, I am going to just echo something that Rachael said very recently, because I think it is really important as it relates to social media. I think showing your vulnerability, not using it as a weapon, because I think some people do show a little too much, but I think showing your vulnerability is a really good thing too. It's not all puppy dogs and ice cream every day of your life. So I don't think your social media presence needs to echo that. So those are my final thoughts. Cassandra, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, I feel like I could talk about this all day. I'm really grateful that you guys like had me on to do this. I hope that the info that I shared was helpful to people. You know, when I started on social media, there was no map or advice. I just kind of like learned as I went along, and I hope that I was able to share some helpful stuff with everybody. I would just say, final thing, don't compare your career to other people's. It's so easy to do that on social media. Just remember, you know, it is a highlight reel. And, you know, if social media is not feeling great for you on one day, just shut it off. You know, nobody's making you do it. But yeah, I hope that everybody watching is, you know, got some good tips, and they're able to grow their following a little bit more. And yeah, tweet me. I will tweet you back.
I love that.
You're going to be busy tonight, Cassandra.
You are. You're going to have so many more followers than this. Rachael, how about you?
Be kind. Be kind and help others. You know, be of service. Use social media to help other people. To, you know, I really believe in that thing of, you know, helping others without expecting anything in return. And it really, there's something magical that happens when you go, you go onto social media, you go into networking, you know, things. You go out there and you help other people. And it comes back, that positive energy of helping other people does come back. It comes back in, you know, bucket loads. So go out there and see how you can be of service to other people. So there we go.
Great. Well, my God, there's so many different directions I can go in. I'll always come back to the word authenticity, because that means a lot to me, both online and offline. But I also think, you know, follow people that you believe in as well, whether it's Cassandra and Rachael, Dan, me, even if it's none of us, follow the people that you believe in too. And I think we learn a lot from each other online. I've definitely learned a lot from just finding when I'm like addicted to one account, why am I obsessed with this? Like, what's exciting about this? Why am I drawn in? Yeah, I think do your best to put out the energy that you want to put out, and be in touch with that gut. So thanks, guys. Dan, where are we going next month?
Next month, I'm gonna just say these words: show me the money. On December 9th at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, we're going to dive into the value of voiceover agents, which I think gotten a lot of questions over the last 2 years of working on this about agents, and this is our time. So Jules, who's coming on next month?
Yeah, the great part about this is we have 3 agents that are coming on, so that we're going to have 3 different perspectives, which I think is very interesting. So we have Billy Cholera from CESD, Jessica Fellrice from Kazarian Measures Ruskin and Associates, and Nick Francino from A3. So they're going to offer 3 different perspectives, which I think will be really cool to talk to them. So we will see you guys next month. In the meantime, you can follow us on social media, and Ahab Talent will keep you abreast of all of the future events that are happening. So we'll chat soon.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you
for
having me too. It's been such an honor and wonderful sharing and connecting with you all as well. So yes, do connect on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
And check out the VoiceOver Network as well.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes, we've got a special offer for everybody. I nearly forgot. Thank you.
Get it out there.
We've got a really special offer for everybody watching. I would like to invite you all to come and try the VoiceOver Network. It's normally a $69 joining fee, and then it's $39 a month. But what we're going to do for everybody watching is we're making it completely free for the first month. So no joining fee, and then nothing to pay for the first month. So you get to come, you get access to the Buzz magazine, all the workshops, online resources, discounts. There's tons going on. So you just go to thevoiceovernetwork.org. And then when you go to the joining page, you put in the coupon code is Von Ahab Join. So VONAHABJOIN, and that will remove the joining fee and remove the first month. Come give us a try. I would love you to, there we go. That's my gift to you.
That's so generous. Molly Leray and I just did a workshop for the VoiceOver Network. We're about to do another 3-hour workshop with them next week. So there's tons of cool stuff happening with them. And it really is a global network of actors. So you're learning from people across borders, across seas, which is also very cool. So thanks, Rachael.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Good to see you guys. And thank you so much for being part of this, and have a great rest of your day. And Rachael, have a great evening.
Thank you. Yes,
go snuggle that
you.
puppy.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye.